There are many hard punchers in the world today, but there are very few that consistently finish fights at the very top level. While some fighters have impressive knockout records, as they patiently build their way up to championship level fights, it's only the very best that can consistently finish off their competition whilst fighting constantly at the pinnacle of their division. Some fighters may have that one punch knockout power that can instantly switch your lights off, whereas others methodically chip away at you until they beat you into submission. You may also get the well-calculated counter-punchers that time you coming in and catch you with a shot you don't see, or the relentless sluggers that are willing to take your own shots, keep walking forward and consistently chip away at you until you're beaten down. Whilst assessing the current landscape of top-level boxing, these are the best finishers in the sport as of today. Now, this list will be taking their level of competition into account and their form in recent years. So an explosive fighter like David Benavidez won't be in this list, as whilst the level of opposition has been top quality and his explosive quality at 168 pounds would have certainly put him high up in this list, since he's moved up to 175 pounds, his knockouts have dried up temporarily. And for someone like Deontay Wilder, without a doubt a few years ago, would have been at the very top of this list. But whilst he's undeniably one of the hardest punchers still active in the world today, he only has one knockout finish since 2019. So without further ado, let's look into the most devastating finishers in boxing today. At number 9, I'm going to go with Jaron Ennis, the welterweight champion of the world, who recently unified, stopping Lithuanian champion Gervonta Davis. Ennis currently has 30 knockouts in his 34 wins. He was recently taken the distance twice by Kara Jukunjan, but barring those two decision victories, has 22 knockouts in 22 straight victories. Boots is a phenomenal body puncher and great at applying pressure at his opposition, but he's also a very good counter puncher who times his opposition really well whilst on the back foot. And he's a seamless switch hitter too, meaning he can attack from either stance. His most impressive stoppage to date was against Ennis, whilst he also beat former champions in Lipinets, the seasoned Thomas Delorme and the tough David Avanesian. But compared to others on this list, his resume is a little thinner at the top level. Whilst the welterweight division a few years ago, with the likes of Errol Spence, Terence Crawford and Virgil Ortiz, along with Ennis, was one of the tastiest, but since, those fighters have moved up to 154 pounds and beyond, meaning Ennis is the best 147 pounder in the world today, and I expect he'll continue knocking out the top 147 pounders. Next up is the wrecking ball Eduardo Nunez, one of the lesser known fighters on this list, who's recently just won the IBF Super Featherweight World title. Nunez was in line to face Anthony Kakachi for the title, but after Kakachi vacated, he ended up fighting Masanori Rikishi for the vacant title in a brutal 12-round fight, being taken the distance for only the second time in his career. Heading into the fight, the extremely muscle-bound Nunez had a record of 27-1 with 27 knockouts. Nunez has stopped former 130-pound champion Shavkat Rakhimov, Miguel Mariaga and a whole list of others, and now he reigns as the IBF Super Featherweight champion. At number 7, I'm going to go with the menacing Australian cruiserweight champion Jai Opetaia. Now, Opetaia's finishing abilities are amongst the most vicious in the sport today. He possesses a real mean streak and one of the most concussive left hands in boxing. Opetaia either sleeps fighters or just beats them up into a bloody submission. I personally feel as though he's the best cruiserweight in the world today, but with fights against the other champions in Gilberto Ramirez and Badu Jack evading him currently, so far he's had to dispatch of the contenders of the division. He has been tested, however, against the truly brilliant cruiserweight Emairis Bradis. Bradis broke Opetaia's jaw in the first fight and came back strong late in the second fight, taking him the distance twice. But since bursting onto the scene after that first victory against Bradis, he's won 5 of his 7 world title fights inside the distance, and has done so in devastating fashion. Next up at number 6 is the heavyweight powerhouse Daniel Dubois. Dubois is currently on the best run of form across his entire career. 3 of his career fights haven't ended with a knockout victory. One when he was taken the distance by the very durable Kevin Johnson, and his 2 stoppage losses to Usyk and Joe Joyce. But barring that, Dubois has knocked everyone out, scoring a total of 21 knockouts in 22 wins. But it's more the quality of opposition that Dubois has been stopping lately that ranks him fairly highly on this list. With names like Anthony Joshua, Filip Hrgovic and Jarrell Miller in his knockout column, Dubois is on a serious run of form and has become the heavyweight champion of the world, making his unification rematch against Alexander Usyk quite intriguing. Since his stoppage to Usyk, he's become a lot mentally stronger physically durable, and his stamina is drastically increased. He's a large heavyweight that can drop you with one shot, but can also take the shots you throw back. He closes the range with one of the most destructive jabs in boxing today and throws consistently across the duration of a fight. His newfound toughness, work rate, durability, power and volume are making him a complete handful at heavyweight. My number 5 pick is the dynamic and destructive Japanese southpaw, Junto Nakatani. Nakatani has a perfect record of 31-0 with 24 knockouts, and having recently unified in the bantamweight division, he's now become number 6 in the Ring Magazine's pound for pound rankings. A mega showdown against 2 division undisputed champion and the Ring Magazine's number 2 pound for pound Naoya Inoue awaits. In what I truly believe is the best fight in boxing today, Nakatani delivers the left hand better than anyone in the sport today, and the way he delivers it is the same way Naoya Inoue has shown vulnerability to the shot in his last few fights. Nakatani's knockout ratio isn't as high as some of the others on this list, but his championship form has been absolutely devastating. For a tall southpaw who paws with the lead hand, he drills the left hand so viciously to both body and head, whether he throws it straight or with an angle to loop it over the guard. Nakatani is a 3-division champion, having won 10 world title fights in the last few years, scoring 9 knockouts in those fights. He recently unified against Ryosuke Nishida and scored one of the most violent knockouts of the decade so far against Andrew Maloney. At number 4, I'm going with Gervonta "Tank" Davis, one of the most explosive fighters in boxing today, who although doesn't work at a higher rate, can instantly end the fight with one punch. And like Opetaia and Nakatani, he has that signature left-hand finisher. Now the quality of Tank's resume, considering the fighters available in his division, isn't as high as those above him and some of those even below him. But he still has very good wins against durable fighters, scoring one of his better wins in his breakthrough performance against Jose Pedraza, who would go the distance with a prime Lomachenko, and fighters like Ryan Garcia and Leo Santa Cruz, although it's worth noting that Santa Cruz was moving up another division to face Davis. Davis tends to lure his opposition into counter punches, planting his weight on the back foot and pouncing on any mistake that they make. And when he has them hurt, he is undeniably one of the best finishers in the sport. But if he doesn't get to land that shot, as we saw in his controversial draw against Lamont Roach, he can come unstuck. However, when he does hit that sweet spot, his timing, speed and freakish power produces all-time great knockouts. And number 3, I'm going to go with Terence Crawford. Now, I don't expect this knockout consistency to continue, as we saw against Israel Madrimov when he was taking the distance. And of course, he's going up to 168 pounds to face the extremely tough Canelo Alvarez. But if we look at his recent form, specifically in his 3rd weight division at welterweight, he stopped every single fighter in a world title fighter that he faced. And that has to count for something, considering he stopped the likes of Errol Spence, who was undefeated, and Sean Porter, who had never been stopped. I wouldn't necessarily say that Crawford is one of the hardest punchers in the sport today, although he undeniably has power. But his timing and ability to land those sneaky, vicious shots consistently catches his opponents off guard, and he has that real mean streak and competitive spirit to make sure he finishes his opposition if he has them hurt. Take the Jose Benavidez Jr. fight for instance, where in the 12th round he hurt Benavidez and clinically finished him off. Now, as I say, I don't expect Crawford's knockout form to continue anytime soon, as he's jumping up to a 6th division against Canelo. And even at 154 pounds, Madrimov was able to take his punches and push him to the wire in a close fight. But Crawford has proven across 3 separate weight divisions that when he has his opposition hurt, he's one of the deadliest finishers in the sport today, as seen most notably against both Errol Spence and Sean Porter. My number 2 slot is going to go to Artur Beterbiev, the former undisputed light heavyweight champion who, until he fought fellow pound for pound star Dmitry Bivol, had a 100% knockout ratio. The fact that Bivol was able to handle the intensity Beterbiev fights with is a testament to his endurance, toughness and boxing skills, because no one else has been able to last with him. Beterbiev's pressure is amongst the most educated we've seen in boxing in recent times, consistently cutting off the ring and staying just out of range before pouncing in with his jab, landing precise shots to both body and head and using his physical strength to rough you up close. Beterbiev's stamina is off the charts and his mental toughness is unbreakable, as he never takes a backward step. Across a 10-year stretch of knockouts, on his way to becoming the undisputed light heavyweight champion, Beterbiev stopped the likes of Zavoris Cloud extremely early on, Callum Smith, Anthony Yard, Alexander Vosdik, Joe Smith Jr., and a whole list of notable contenders, before beating Dmitry Bivol over points to prove that he really is a pound-for-pound star. And the fact that he's still fighting at the highest level at such intensity, now in his 40s, is a testament to his incredible fitness and discipline to the sport. And at number 1, the greatest finisher in the world today, in my opinion, is the monster, Naoya Inoue, who has rightfully earned that nickname. Inoue has travelled 5 weight divisions, winning titles in 4 and cleaning out 2. Over 11 years now, he just hasn't stopped knocking out the best fighters in his divisions. Whether that be Omar Narvaez, a fighter who had never been stopped in over 30 world title fights, after just 8 fights to become a 2-division champion, undefeated fighters in Emmanuel Rodriguez, who was stopped in the second round, and Stephen Fulton, or even in the case of TJ Doheny, who had his back broken from a body shot that Naoya Inoue threw. Inoue is currently in the midst of an 11-fight knockout streak, but has won 19 of his last 20 world title fights via knockout. He's already had 25 world title fights in 4 separate divisions, where he scored 23 knockouts, and has beaten 14 different world champions, the second highest in the sport today behind Canelo, knocking out 13 of them. He's the ultimate finisher, able to set you up with shots, as he did with Stephen Fulton with the jab to the body to set the right hand up to the head, catch you with a counter punch with either hand on the front foot or the back foot, or blow you away with flurries. He's also been one of the most brutal body punchers for the last decade at the world level. What makes Inoue the best finisher in the world for me today is the fact that he's so consistent with his knockouts, despite already moving up a gap of 5 divisions. But that's all from me today. Let me know who you think is the best finisher in the sport today, and any names that I may have missed out. As I say, this isn't the hardest puncher in the world, but the best finisher in boxing. And if you like the content, make sure to like and subscribe. You can support my page on Instagram via subscribing on there, and you can buy my book, The Immortals of the Ring, where I cover the greatest fighters of all time in my opinion. You can get that via the link in my Instagram bio. Thank you.